Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Town of Sykesville's Mayor and Town Council meeting for today, Monday, May 24th. We'll call the meeting to order at exactly 7 p.m. And this meeting is being held via Zoom teleconference. Those of you who are there with us via Zoom, you already know that, and you already know what I'm about to say. But those listening in from Facebook Live, if you want to join us via Zoom, you'll want to call 301-715-8592. The meeting ID is 825-6757-1656. And then it'll ask you to enter a passcode, which is 968249. And if you'd like to make public comment, you'll need to raise your hand from the raise your hand button if you are on the Zoom meeting, and otherwise you'll need to press *9 to make a public comment. So let's get started by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could have a moment of silence. Okay, thanks, everybody. All right, I need to get rid of this guy here. Okay, so again, the first order of business tonight would be public comments. So please note that public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. If you are on the phone with us and you'd like to make a comment, please press *9. Otherwise, you can press the raise your hand button on your Zoom screen. And I'll give you all a couple seconds to do that and ask Carrie to let me know if there are any public comments.
We don't even have any public on the call, so we do not have.
All right. It's going to be a quick one. Okay, if somebody jumps on in the next minute or so, Carrie, let me know if they have a public comment. So we'll get started with the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the minutes from the May 10th Mayor and Town Council meeting, as well as the reappointment of Richard McCullough to the Historic District Commission for a 3-year term. And for the benefit of our newest council member and any public that may listen in the future or is listening on Facebook Live, consent agendas are inclusive of items that would normally not require discussion before approval. I'll always ask if there are any objections or a need for discussion of the items on the consent agenda. And if there are, then that item would be pulled from the consent agenda and would be discussed separately. So without any objections or further discussion, the remaining consent agenda can then be approved. So are there any questions or objections regarding this evening's consent agenda?
I was thinking we should pull out the minutes because Lisa was not a council person then. Okay,
very good call, Councilman Grassley. So we'll pull that off of there because he's basically saying, Elizabeth, you would not be able to vote. You'd have to abstain from this vote since you weren't present and you couldn't confirm that the minutes were written correctly. So other than that,
I'm fine with them being left on, and I can abstain from this vote so that we can pass those minutes.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, we'll just move to, do I have a motion to actually approve the reappointment of Richard McCullough to the Historic District Commission?
Second.
Who made that motion?
I did.
Okay, so that's the first.
So moved.
All right, good deal. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
All right, so the motion made by Councilwoman Carter and seconded by Councilman Grassley. And all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
That looks like everybody. Any opposed? I might have missed. Okay, so the consent agenda to include the reappointment of Richard McCullough passes unanimously. And now I'll ask for a motion to, I guess I'll note here, Carrie, I assume you made that correction to the date that was needed that Al mentioned? Okay.
Yeah, at the very beginning of the minutes.
Yes. Okay. So with that correction in mind, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from May 10th?
So moved.
Good deal. Thank you. And a second?
Second.
All right. So Councilman Grassley makes a motion and Jeremiah Schofield seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Right. Any opposed? And any abstentions?
Abstaining.
Very good. All right. So the motion passes. The meetings for May 10th have been approved. And the first item of new business is first to consider, discuss and act upon the council president and council liaison positions. So right now, I guess we'll look for any nominations for council president.
I'd like to nominate Anna Carter for council president.
Okay, and that's is there a second for that motion?
I will second that.
Okay. Are there any other nominees or nominations for council president? Okay, great. So for the motion is for Councilwoman Anna Carter as council president. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, and any opposed? All right, and I also vote yay, so that passes unanimously. So
Can
with,
can I vote or should I abstain? Because it's.
oh no, you should
vote.
certainly vote. So all in favor, once again? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, great. So
Although if she would have opposed, I don't know what we would have done. So
that is a very.
He's outnumbered. It doesn't matter.
Well, with that unanimous favorable decision, Councilwoman Anna Carter is elected our council president. And she shall serve as chair of the council in my absence. And just again, for the purposes of public knowledge, likewise, all checks issued in payment of salaries and other municipal obligations shall be prepared by the treasurer and signed by our town manager, and then countersigned by myself. And when I'm not available, council president will do so. And that's directly from our charter.
Thank
All
you
right,
all for your
moving on.
confidence.
Say again, Anna?
I said, thank you all for your confidence.
Absolutely. Thank you for holding the position. I look forward to working with you. I'm sure we all do. So as for the council liaison positions, I would ask that all members continue in their current roles as we evaluate those positions. Currently been speaking with the council members, and we'll continue to do that over the next week or so. And then we'll speak more of council liaison positions at our next meeting. So whatever post you're holding, please continue and attend your upcoming meetings between now and our next town council meeting on the 14th, I believe it is, of June.
That's right.
Okay. The next item is introduction of ordinance number 2021-04. And that is fiscal year 2021 budget revisions. So Joe, there you go. There's our paperwork. Can you give us a report on that?
Yeah, just our end of year budget revision for FY21. Again, not too many changes. The biggest one being the payoff of the debt that was approved by council back in March. So again, that debt was paid off, but we had to address it there in the budget. So we did add that $190,000 to both revenue and expenses. And then several of the departments were adjusted as well. As I pointed out in the report, one of the things that happened throughout the course of the fiscal year was that our housekeeping services that we had for all of our several buildings here in town actually closed up shop and moved to Georgia, I think. So we had to find another provider, and they were a little more expensive than what we had originally budgeted. So those are the big changes. Obviously, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But from a budget revision standpoint, this one's pretty easy and straightforward.
Do any of the council members have questions for Joe? Okay, that looks like 6 no's. I don't have any questions either. So do we have a motion to approve the introduction of ordinance number 2021-04, 2021 budget revisions?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay,
Mark,
so
Mark can have that one.
Leo has made the motion and Councilman Mark Dyer with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? And any abstentions? All right, so that too, that ordinance number 2021-04 fiscal year 2021 budget revisions have passed unanimously. The next item under new business is to consider, discuss, and act on circuit rider resolution number 2021-03 and other pertaining documents. If you can bring us up to speed on this one, Joe, please.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. This is just a continuation of our circuit rider program here in town. Again, the circuit rider is somebody that's assigned to the municipality to help with various administrative duties or special projects that we may have. The circuit rider that we've had is Mr. Jared Schumacher. He's been here for a little over 2 years, I think. And his duties mainly revolve around most of our grant writing activities and grant maintenance or management of all of these projects. So very valuable work that he provides to the town through this circuit rider program. So this is just the ability for us to extend it for another year.
Does anyone have any questions for Joe?
Just one question, Joe. Are there a certain number of hours that he works with the town, or is it more like fee for service?
I mean, it is a 40-hour-a-week position. Sometimes these circuit riders are shared between municipalities, but ours is dedicated just to us.
Thank you.
Joe, what is our requirement for residents to have the circuit rider through the county?
Like the limit on the number of residents we have to stay under 5,000.
Okay, and we're currently still under 5,000.
We are.
Okay.
Thanks, Anna. Thanks, Joe. Anyone else? Okay, so it's with no further discussion, does anyone have, or I'll just do it this way. Is there a motion to approve Circuit Rider Resolution number 2021-03 and other pertaining documents, which include the MOU?
So moved.
Do you have a second? Okay, great. So Councilman Grassley makes the motion and seconded by Councilman Keenan. All in favor, please show hands and verbally if you can take yourself off mute.
Aye.
Aye.
Good. Any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, so that motion passes unanimously as well. That brings us to announcements and reports. The next Mayor and Town Council meeting is scheduled for June 14th. And yes, we still have volunteer opportunities available on the Historic District Commission, Sykesville Park and Rec Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, Police Auxiliary, and Crossing Guard. Anyone interested and believes that they have the skills and the fortitude for any one of those volunteer positions, please contact staff at town@sykesville.net for more information, to learn about those opportunities and to find out what steps you would take next if you find that you are interested. Brings us to staff updates. If Joe wants to begin.
Just a couple quick ones. One, just a reminder that the comprehensive plan, we do plan to have that on the agenda for June 14th. We are making some final revisions and final touch-ups to that document, and I hope to have it out to council this Friday so that you have at least 2 weeks or so to make sure you can go through that one final time before it's presented for adoption on June 14th. And then just some Warfield updates. We did finally get a request from them regarding their fiscal and market studies. I know we've been waiting for these studies for a while. However, their update to us was they're willing to give a presentation, but they limited it to just either me and Mayor Link. We did send a response back to them just to let them know that we'd happily invite them to a council meeting and give them the floor to update the entire council and the public on some of the challenges that they're facing there. However, their response back was that they do believe some of that information is somewhat proprietary, and they're not comfortable sharing all of it in the public. So they are looking at what potentially could come before council. But we did want to ask to make sure that line back to them is still supported by the council, and that we want to keep that as a public presentation, not limiting it to only, say, the town manager and the mayor, but the entire council should actually be receiving that information. And obviously, if we need to talk about that more, we can certainly do that. The other issue is the strategic demolition grant. So as most of you can remember, we were awarded $750,000 to be used on the Warfield site. There was a scope of work change several months ago. Actually, I think it was late last year, that allowed them to do some wetlands remediation work and some other various work out there on site. we got that grant agreement approved through the Department of Housing and Community Development. And we are working now on a subrecipient agreement with Warfield. One of the issues that was coming up was some of the tax implications with that, with those grant funds, and whether or not the subrecipient agreement would be able to be worked out so that we could actually comply with some of the rules within the original grant agreement. We've been told that all of this it has been worked out, and we can work through the grant program as it's designed, and that we can have a nice clean subrecipient agreement for Warfield. There's not going to be any special conditions or weird scenarios where the town would be paying contractors directly or anything strange with it. So that subrecipient agreement is with our attorney. He's given it a glance before we send it off to the Warfield folks, and potentially that may be on the agenda as well on June 14th. So that is all I have, unless anybody has any questions for me.
So, hey, Joe, the Warfield presentation.
Yes.
I mean, I know we want to share it with the public, but is there any way to get that in a closed session with all of us? Is there any way to do that? I don't know how the council would feel about that, but at least we would get the information, the council and the mayor. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Mayor Link?
Well, as far as I understand it, it wouldn't fall under any of the items that would allow us to have a closed session meeting.
Okay.
It's not contract negotiations. It's not sale of property and so on and so forth. So the few exclusions that allow us to have to avoid the Open Meetings Act is just not in play here. So I guess that would be my answer. Joe has anything else?
No, you hit the nail on the head. Because it's proprietary, maybe for them, it doesn't necessarily protect us from that. So it's just one of those things that unfortunately, if we want to get the group together to hear that information, they have to be willing to share it publicly. Otherwise,
I mean, and they are in complete control of what information they share. So if there's something proprietary that they want to keep to themselves, that would be the part that they wouldn't share to us with us publicly. But
right.
I'm quite sure there's more than that we'd like to have updates on. So, but they're invited to our council meeting to do that in an open forum whenever it's convenient for them. And I would encourage them to do so.
Yeah, I'd like to just say that as well, that I also think it's really important that they come to an open session and they start to share whatever information is available. I think the whole community wants to hear it, not in small groups, not in closed door sessions, but the whole community just wants to hear what the plan is, as much of the plan that they can share. And then on a second, maybe more of a question for you, Joe, is there a timeline yet on that $750,000 worth of work? Do we have any sense of what that is, or do we have to work through the agreement with Warfield first?
Yeah, I want to say the money has to be spent within a 2-year time frame for when the agreement was made, and the agreement was made back in March of this year. So they have until basically March or April of 2023 to complete the work.
Thank you.
My memory was there was comments about the type of work that could happen with respect to the waterway and fish hatching season and stocking and such. And I feel like we've already passed that for this season. So that's, again, just my memory from the last time we heard from them about the infrastructure change in scope.
Yeah, that is true. So, and I don't know if it's just the waterways in general, or if there is something specific where they can't disrupt certain seasons. But I want to say it's between April and September is their window to do some of that wetlands work.
Okay.
So in theory, if they get the agreement signed and everything's ready to go, and they have contractors waiting, then potentially they could still do it this year.
Okay.
But we'll see.
Okay.
So unrelated to that, but also important, and I haven't gone over and seen this myself in the last month, but Joe, you'll remember when I sent you a picture in reference to it. Do we know if that $750,000 is going to take care of any of the runoff issue, or are they addressing the runoff issue, or do we need anyone to come in and have an assessment of that, the county or someone else? And so just for situational awareness for others, there's a runoff issue on a portion of the path that's closest to where some of the residents are built. in the park area there. And so what happens is that when it rains heavily, or not even when it rains, there's actual puddling of water, and there's also sediment that builds up on that path, making it very slick for the people that walk there. But it's unsightly, and I don't think that the stormwater mitigation isn't working properly.
Well, and I'll say this, and a matter of fact, I just talked to the I guess the principal out there, the project manager out there, about that very specific issue. And a lot of the infrastructure that was originally put in out there was designed to actually spill over like that as they were grading out the site and building the site up. He has told me that those areas, in fact, have now been transitioned to their, I guess, more permanent use. So it shouldn't be spilling over anymore. And I asked him specifically about whether or not we'd be able to open that trail back up, and will it stay clear of all that sediment that you mentioned. And he said it should be. Now, admittedly, I've not gone out there today, though today would have been a perfect day to go out and take a look to see how it was operating. But they are aware, and like I said, they say that it has been mitigated or has been put in its permanent use. So that shouldn't be happening anymore. Obviously, if it still is, we'll work with them to make sure it gets corrected so that it does stop doing that, and people can enjoy the trail without the mud buildup there along that stretch.
Could we just put sorry, Derek, go ahead.
I'm just going to confirm that they have removed those temporary structures. They were doing that last week. I can run by in the morning to see what it looks like with the rainstorms that we've had too. But most of that temporary stuff has been removed. So.
Well, that's really good news. Derek, do you routinely monitor it over there or no?
Yeah. I go over there and check what's going on. Yes. Probably not to the extent that Mark was, but I'm over there virtually every day. So.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay. No more questions for Joe. I guess that brings us to our public safety report. Chief Spaulding.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. We're going to talk about the public safety report covering May 4th through the 16th. As you can see, it was not a whole lot going on in those 12 days. 354 total events, and just some of the highlights: 10 assist other agency, 21 foot patrols, 212 patrol checks, only 25 traffic enforcement initiatives, again, for a total of 354 events. There are 12 incident reports that we wrote during that period, which are in your packet. If anybody has any questions about any of those incidents, I'd be more than happy to let you know.
So no questions for the chief?
I actually have one. My mute wouldn't work. Unmute.
Yes,
Chief, I've noticed that there are more than usual incidences of DWI. Is that common for this time of year, or is this something of an anomaly? I can't say that.
Anomaly.
Unusually.
No, I think it does pick up during the warmer months. I think it stands to reason that more people are out, especially with the pandemic ending, and more people are getting out and attending bars and restaurants and probably consuming more than they should consume. So it normally does go up in around holidays and in summertime. So I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And anyone else for the chief? Great.
Mayor, if there are no other questions, I did want to mention two things. We are looking into doing National Night Out again this year, although many other municipalities are not for whatever reason. I'm hopeful that we will be able to do so. If you want to pencil in August 3rd, that's the date we're looking at this point.
Okay.
Coordinating with the Sykesville Freedom District Fire Department as well as the Lions Club to make that happen. But so far it looks pretty promising. So awesome. We're hoping to get out there that night.
That's wonderful. So August 3rd.
Yes, ma'am. And I'll certainly keep you up to speed on that as the discussions continue, but it's looking pretty promising at this point. We're waiting for final approval from the board of directors of the fire department to allow us to use their facility for that. So
That's wonderful. Thank you for coordinating that, Chief.
I think it's very
know
important.
it's very well anticipated, much anticipated return.
Absolutely, I agree. And I think I mentioned before, we are trying to revive our junior CSI program. Of course, last year we weren't able to have it. This year, we are hoping to do a one-day outdoor program that'll last approximately 6 hours. We're looking at holding it in Burkett Park. We think that would be a good place to have it outdoors. We think parents will be much more willing to allow their children to come and be outdoors, and we'll just have to make sure we keep an eye on them, keep everybody there. But that date is tentatively set for September 11th. That's a Saturday. And I'll certainly keep you up to speed on that as well as we continue working on that.
Awesome. I spoke to a resident this past weekend who is a graduate of the academy, and will be, I think, volunteering to work with you guys in a teaching position. So yeah, it's a full circle. So
excellent.
Yeah,
excellent. That's great news.
Yes.
And I did want to mention our website is live. Thank you again, Mayor, and the Downtown Sykesville Connection for providing us with those services. Still not perfect yet. Still a work in progress. We still have a couple areas we need to refine, but if you get a chance to look at it, it's sykesvillepolice.org. And we still have a page on the old website. I'm going to work with Carrie to maybe get that disconnected or maybe refer people from the old site to our new one, just so people will know where to go. Won't have two different sites to go to. But Barbara's done a great job with that, and looks pretty good. We've got some very, very nice pictures on there. And
it does look sharp.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes.
It's nice to have a nice new website. So we appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm glad that was, I won't take credit for the foresight and the identification of a need and then finding a way to make it happen. That's definitely the executive director for the DSC that did that. But I was proud to donate, if you will, my award for the I guess that was the 2020 public service or volunteer year of the year award. And I'm just doing this to let the public know that that's what the chief is referring to, that the award that I was provided for 2020 Volunteer of the Year Award through Civic Plus, which is the company that manages our websites, offered us a free website, which obviously we had identified as being a need for the police department. So that's what the chief is referring to. So it's my pleasure.
We're putting it to good use.
Good deal. Thanks, Chief.
The last thing I wanted to mention is our painting is almost, I guess, about halfway done on the interior of our police department. It's going well. It's just kind of hard to work around the painters in our offices and all, but everybody is doing a good job of moving furniture and getting out of the way so the painters can get done hopefully within the next 2 weeks. And it's going to look fantastic. It's going to look really nice. So
awesome.
We'll invite you all over when it's done.
Just make sure the paint fumes are gone by the time we get over there.
Absolutely.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. So that brings us to council committee reports. I'm a believer in the fact that not all of us have something really important to say from our liaison positions at every single meeting. So instead of going around, I'll just say if anyone has any specific updates to share with the public regarding their commissions that they are liaisons to, jump in there.
I'll jump in first. Just briefly for the DSC, the farmers market has kicked off 2 weeks in a row now, very well attended. Everybody's excited about it. And I see Chief nodding that things seem to be going well down there. So that's good to hear. And we just had the game on Main. Was well attended as well, about 100 participants. Everybody seemed to enjoy that as well. We're looking forward to slowly getting everything back to normal with events and people being down on Main Street. You could tell these past couple weeks with the weather getting better, people are really down on Main Street and enjoying themselves. So it's good to see. It's good to start getting back to normal. And I just want to add one more thing. Didn't get a chance to do this when we started, but I would like to welcome our new council member, Liza Guroff. I didn't get a chance to do that when we started tonight. And of course, welcome to our new mayor, who's not new to the council, but obviously new to the position. So congratulations and welcome to your position, as well as new council president, Anna Carter.
Awesome. Thanks, Leo.
Thanks, guys.
Anyone else for their commissions?
I just want to let everybody know that the HDC has a meeting tomorrow night via Zoom at 7 o'clock. We have 4 applications to review, and then I'll report back at the following meeting.
Awesome. And now jump in there. Spark, Sykesville Parks and Rec Commission meets again this Thursday at 7 p.m. via Zoom. So look for that on the town's website for the Zoom link. And you can also watch it watch the Facebook live stream. And I also wanted to announce that Spark's first movie of the 2021 Sykesville Cinema in the Park series is June 12th. And that'll be at sunset. And according to the text I just got so timely from the chair of Spark, from Alex, she says that that movie is Lorax. So the Lorax is on at sunset on June 12th at Millard Cooper Park. Come on, come on. It's free. Snack Shack's open. Anyone else? Cool. So any other items from council or staff?
So Mayor, I have a question.
Sure.
In terms of learning kind of order and everything else. One of the things I'd like us to be able to explore is a youth council, but that would require some staff time and others in terms of even just researching it to see if it's a viability or an option, and wanted to know kind of how we get that process started, and in terms of a discussion with the council members if they'd be interested in even just starting the exploration process just to get information.
Well, Lisa, you're announcing that right now, and asking how to get things started is actually how to get things started. So you, I guess if it would be a good opportunity for a brief question and answer set, if anybody has questions for Elizabeth, in order to determine if this is something you guys would like staff to pursue as far as the viability of having a youth council and what that would entail. Obviously, if you guys are interested in this has legs, then it's something that I would like Joe to delegate staff, a little bit of staff time to.
Hey, Lisa, I have a question for you. Maybe you'd want to reach out to MML and see if any other municipality has something, what you're looking for.
They do, Al, and they have the governor has one actually at the state level, and then a variety of towns have them, but I think they all have them set up differently. And so I'm not sure which. My thought was if we can just start with just researching of what's out there, how they were set up, kind of how the youth are getting on them, and their roles, because from what the brief search that I started doing, they're very different. Each town runs them differently.
So I would say that, this is going to be your baby, I should say. I don't mean to, but like you should pick what you want, look at those 3 or 4 different options, and, you make it what you want to do, make it, I would tell you. And if it's a hybrid situation from a couple different municipalities, I think we're all open to that. Just a thought.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, the question is, I think, just can we use some of the town staff time to help support that research and putting, information back to the council, so we can put something together that's, thoughtful.
So Lisa, maybe you want to speak to what you see as the benefits to having a youth council, why this concept was born in your head in the first place. It would be helpful, I guess, for us to understand that. I know the answer to that, but I think others may.
Yeah, as being a resident and having had my kids grow up here, I feel like that age group, kind of the high school, early college years, we just don't have that voice well represented. And I think there's a lot of creativity, a lot of interest. We definitely saw even at, with the skate park that came out of that group. So I think they have a lot to offer. I also think stepping stones, education processes of, helping our youth get involved young in what's going on in the town can really just help enhance our decision-making going forward, as well as start to bring some creativity that we might not think of. So kind of an opportunity for them, as well as I think a huge win for the town in terms of engagement would be my thoughts.
So my thoughts in reference to this is I actually really like the idea, but I guess I'd like some more definition around what exactly it is and what does it mean? What's the commitment? What's the age bracket for the people that are involved? But does it serve as community hours or not for high school kids or middle school kids if we're going to be adding them to this? Are there any criteria for folks, to get a part of this? Do they need to do something else? Do they need to take a certain class? I just don't know what this looks like. But I think it's a great idea, and it's a great way to interact with the community at large in a different way than what we traditionally do. It'd also be great if they could do, they might know technology a little bit better than we do. They might be a good user experience, like a user group out there that could help us, modernize certain things and be a real asset to us. So I like the concept, but kind of like Al said, I think we need to have put together a proposal. And what I think you're saying is, hey, can the town help with that? And I don't see any issue with dedicating a small number of resources to that.
Anyone else have any questions for Lisa?
No questions, but I think that possibly have Joe comment on that if we do have a few hours of resources that can help Lisa with this.
Yeah. So my only question was if there's a specific time frame that we wanted to report back. Obviously, the longer the better. Just that would help us manage, how much research we're actually doing. If you wanted it by June 14th, I would say that's probably a bit of a stretch. But maybe later this summer or early fall to report something back.
Yeah, I would prefer it thorough and something solid that's really sustainable, not just rushing to make some decision. So I have no specific time frame because I think Jeremiah, all those questions are great, and that we don't know those, and so I'd like to have the time for feedback and for really doing a thorough research job and a solid proposal, that's sustainable going forward.
Cool. Yeah, I would ask Joe that if it's this fall, that's great. But I would, just having been at the MML meeting last week when it was announced and stressed, if I could use that word to us, that we make use of the services that MML has available to all the municipalities that participate, and that they can be a very good resource for something. I think maybe even to this extent, at least point us in the right direction, and let us know what other towns and what they do, and actually provide us probably with some SOPs or some examples of the way their programs may be laid out, or at least point us in the direction of who we can speak to about that.
Sure. And again, just to clarify, the purpose of the Youth Council would be just to increase youth engagement in government. That's the parameters of the Youth Council. There's not something else underlying that we want to try to look at. That's the purpose of the idea. Is that correct?
Yeah, the engagement. Yep.
Okay.
And Lisa, if you've already researched a little bit, maybe you can pull some of that together for the staff. That might be helpful, so they already know which towns are using that.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
It sounds like a great idea. We ought to move forward. Obviously, once put it on Joe's list and see what happens. I like it.
I'll add it to the whiteboard.
We got a summer intern coming in this summer. Maybe you could do that.
Yeah, that's I guess another meeting agenda item. But yeah, I think we're looking to perhaps get some an intern into the townhouse. We definitely have some intern like work that can be done. All right. Any other items from council or staff?
No, I have a question to circle back around, and I'm not sure if you want to email us or if you have even information now. I know back in November, we were talking about issues with the vultures over at Village Apartments, and now that it's springtime and I hear the birds in the background, do we have any further information on that?
I don't have any further information on that. I'm kind of looking down at the screen at Chief to see if he's reacting in any kind of way. I don't know if he's heard from the applicant over there. One, whether or not they've even renewed their permit with the state, or two, if they're still having a lot of the same issues that they were having before.
All I can say is they did make us aware that they were going to be using some sound cannons. And this was, I guess, several months ago. So I'm fairly certain they have not continued on the path they were before with regard to exterminating the birds. They're back to other creative ways to try to basically scare them off. That was really the last I've heard from them.
Thank you for that.
So I have two things I'd like to bring up. One is pretty brief. Well, they're both brief, but one's almost very brief. So I had noticed some chatter on Sykesville Online today on their Facebook page about desires that it's not the first time that I've been made aware of this concept, but there are many residents who would love to see a celebration, a memoriam, if you will, for our veterans, whether it be just on Memorial Day or to last through the summer for Memorial Day and 4th of July and into Labor Day, by way of those really cool banners that you see with the faces of the veterans that have served over the course of the many wars in our history, and or active duty or not. And I know that this is something that, again, the executive director of the Downtown Sykesville Connection has actually reached out to BGE at least on 3 consecutive attempts, 3 consecutive years, if you will, with the contact at BGE. And the reason why, for those that don't know this, Sykesville doesn't own those utility poles on our main street. They're BGE's, and we have to get special permission to use them for the wreaths at Christmas time. And any use like that would require sometimes it seems like an act of God. But that being said, I bring this up because I want to acknowledge the fact that the chatter is there, and that it is something I would assume that most people, if not all at this table, would love to see take place. It's just that with respect to our polls on Main Street, at least, it's not as easy as just ordering banners and asking Derek to see to it that his crew installs them for us. So all of that being said, I would like to actually, and I will speak with Joe about this, that we do have a contact at BGE. I know that that contact has not yet been made for this season of tries. So maybe we should reach out. I don't think, do you know, Joe, has staff, to your knowledge, had any interaction with BGE about this matter?
Not about the flags or banners
Right.
being on the poles, but we do have contacts at BG&E that we're happy to reach out to.
Okay.
Again, with all the lighting issues that we went through
Yes.
late last year, our Rolodex for BG&E contacts expanded significantly.
Okay.
So,
Great. Maybe we can get lucky with one of them and just see if we can get any movement on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Glad to
Thank
reach
you.
out.
Awesome. And then the only other announcement I would like to announce is a timely one, because it's about the Patapsco Regional Greenway and the fact that they're looking for public comment. So the Patapsco Regional Greenway plan is a 40-mile shared use trail through the Patapsco Valley, and it's to extend from the Inner Harbor actually to our coolest small town in America here in Sykesville. And so there's right now they're looking for public comment on the options that there are for the section of the trail that actually will go right through downtown, potentially right through downtown Sykesville. So there's 2 sections that are up for public comment, 2 sections of that trail. And one is called the western portion and the other one is called the eastern portion. And each one of those sections, the east and west portions, have 2 suggested alignments or routes or optional routes that they want the public to weigh in on. And so we have an advisory council, and we have stakeholders that are participating in that, but this is the public's opportunity to weigh in. So anybody listening this evening or listens back to this recording, if you, I can't read you the entire website address, but if you just Google the Patapsco Regional Greenway and then the word Sykesville, it'll bring you to either the first or second thing that you find will be the public input sought through June 11th. And it'll give you the opportunity to do that.
It is on our website, Mayor,
Yes,
under Sykesville.net. In the news, it's the first item.
click,
There's a link there for
click
that.
on it. Thank you, sir. Are there any other comments before we look to close the meeting? All right, so being no other business, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Minds on May 24th, 2021?
I make a motion to adjourn.
All right, motion by Council President Anna Carter, second. Second by Councilman Leo Keenan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good deal. Thanks, guys. Motion to adjourn has passed.
Recording stopped.
Have a good evening.
Good night, everybody.
Bye,
Good
everybody.
night.